Just a reminder here, as our coverage continues tonight, we will have some live pictures on the sides of the screen here showing live counting in all 4 of the major counties here in North Texas. In Dallas County, Tarrant County, Denton County, and Collin County. You will see that on the screen throughout the evening as we continue the conversation here. Matt Engel, let's start with you. We just heard what Natalie said at the Crockett campaign here tonight. She says this was intentional by the GOP because it deliberately wanted to split up the voting that they have had for years together. But she got into the race late. She declared December 6th, 5th, whenever it was, the same day. I'm curious, now that this has happened here too, how does this dent her campaign? Does this blunt turnout in North Texas?
Well, it could for sure, and I don't think there's any question though that the Republicans want to run against Jasmine Crockett, but I think that they saw splitting up the vote probably would slow voting in Dallas County. But I think Jasmine, though, she did start late. She hasn't run a traditional campaign, but I think there is increased turnout in North Texas because of her campaign, and I think it will affect other races down ballot, even if it's not enough for her to nominate her statewide.
You think it could impact other races down ballot, though?
Yeah, definitely.
How so?
We see that over in Tarrant County that Chris Turner is running behind an early vote by a little over 1,000 votes. That would not have happened had you not had Jasmine Crockett really driving the turnout in Tarrant County of African-American voters.
And of course, Chris Turner, state rep, longtime state rep from Grand Prairie, the Tarrant County side of Grand Prairie, as Bud likes to remind me all the time. Alfredo, when you hear this conversation, and we all know, we've heard quite a few times rather, that Republicans want to run against Jasmine Crockett. They think they can defeat her in the fall. Was this splitting the primaries maybe going to backfire on them in Dallas County since this is her home base?
Well, I don't think this was a concerted effort to try or, dissuade people from getting to the polls. As Bud said, I mean, Democrats are responsible for educating their voters on how they should vote. And that clearly didn't take place at the local level. Is Jasmine Crockett a better candidate for Republicans to run against in a general election? Easily. She's unpredictable. She runs a non-traditional campaign. We don't know what may come out of her mouth at any given moment. So she certainly presents an opportunity for Republicans to take advantage of. As Matt said here, clearly she has had an impact on the North Texas turnout. And so it's still a little early to see whether or not this confusion, whether or not this delay in the votes is going to have an ultimate impact on the statewide turnout for the U.S. Senate race.
And I'm curious, Domingo, you watched Dallas County politics, Democratic politics in this county for a long time. Should the party have done a better job alerting voters and alerting their primary voters?
Evidently. When you got people waiting an hour, 2 hours at 7 o'clock. The fact of the matter is, I don't think it was anticipated the way that the turnout has been. It's record numbers of turnouts. Statewide, Democrats have outvoted Republicans for the first time in 20 years. And this Crockett-Tellerico race and the enthusiasm to vote against what's happening in Washington has generated turnout, and I don't think the local officials were prepared for it, and that's why we're seeing this kind of chaos right now at the polls.
Jason, I'll jump in and say that 20% of these Democratic of the voters have not voted in a primary before, so they weren't on any kind of Democratic text list or email list. Democrats wouldn't even know that they plan to come out and vote in the primary to notify them about the change in polling place.
What's your take on all this? Is it going to pass? Go ahead.
I also saw a stat that 21% of the Democrats who voted early were actually Republicans voting in the Democratic primary for the first time. So just that 20% of new voters also not knowing where to go vote.
Yeah, I don't know if I buy that. That's a big number. But
there are a lot of competitive races on the Republican side. I'd be surprised if you had Republicans doing that.
Now, maybe, but we've got competitive races on the Republican side too. But I love how much credit, Matt. Thank you for the credit for that. We're changing up the race by splitting the ballot and all these evil plans. But I think
you've got about 20 years of Republicans changing the rules in order to benefit themselves.
But this is all very simple. I mean, I think the Tellerico campaign has infrastructure. They are organized. They have a get out the vote machine. The Crockett campaign has none of those things. Certainly not at the level that Tellerico does. He can do the job of getting people out.
Here we are at 7:28. We've been waiting for numbers to come in, and Jason Wheeler over on the big board has been waiting as well. I see a few of the counties already lighted up, which means there are some counties that are reporting vote totals coming in. And these are still super early, but at the end of the day, a lot of folks want to know which way is this thing going.
Right.
And this is 12% of the total vote. So this is, not too shabby.
It's kind of a patchwork quilt that we're looking at right now, though, Jason. And one more note about Dallas County. Again, if you gave up and you didn't go vote in Dallas County, you have until 9 o'clock tonight. The polls are staying open. They've extended the voting hours. Our reporter, Brittany Moncrief, here today went on to the site for the county where you're supposed to punch in your information, and it tells you where to go vote, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. And in both instances, she tried on both ends just to see what it would say, and it said go to any voting center. Wow. That's what the official website was showing her.
So who's responsible for that confusion? Is it
I don't
the party?
know.
Was it misentered at the county side? Who knows?
At the end of the day, though, the bottom line is it's still more confusion from what was, people thought was an official source. Okay, so let's get into the numbers here. This is looking at the Democratic side just because we were talking about Jasmine Crockett and James Tallarico here. This is with about 303,000 votes in. Keep in mind, in early voting, Democrats statewide cast 1.4 million votes approximately. So this is, less than a quarter of that early vote that we're looking at here. Right now, Jasmine Crockett in the lead. We expect, again, for this to, change wildly, perhaps over the next couple of hours, though.
Before you spin off this, let's note, too, Tallarico's from Central Texas. He's, has a lot of
he was a teacher
in San Antonio.
San Antonio, Bexar County.
None of those are reporting yet.
No, we got nothing in Bexar, nothing in Comal, nothing in Hayes, nothing in Travis, nothing in Williamson right now. So, again, patchwork quilt that we're looking at here as we try to get an early grasp of what the numbers are looking like. And also, I just want to tell you, if you're following along with us on the Secretary of State's website, you will notice that in many cases, these numbers are different than what you're seeing online. The Secretary of State, once it gets to them and they put out those numbers, that is absolutely official. It's been stamped official. What we're relying on here for the purposes of speed is the Associated Press. The Associated Press has people in all of these election offices, or many of these election offices all across the state. So as soon as those election offices are transmitting those numbers to the state, they're seeing those numbers, we're populating those into the board, just so everybody knows. Let's look on the Republican side here in the race for Senate. You can see incumbent John Cornyn ahead here. Again, this is with about 373,000 of the 1.2 million votes cast in the Republican primary. So again, just a sliver of what we're looking at, but you can see what is developing here among these three big names that are vying for this. And, interestingly here, Jason, everybody expects this to go to runoff. You start seeing some of these candidates down here that maybe a lot of people haven't heard of before. When you start talking about 3.5%, 4%, that they start siphoning off, you have even more of a chance of this going to runoff, and it can kind of determine who is in that second or third place because only the top two get to go on to the runoff.
Let's go through what else we have.
Yeah,
here.
let's
We
look at
have the
this
Attorney General.
because as we talked about, Texas is going to have a new Attorney General for the first time in more than a decade now that Ken Paxton is running for the U.S. Senate. You can see here Mays Middleton out to an early lead, but again with just a sliver of the vote in. Chip Roy, Representative Chip Roy, coming in at second there. Not surprisingly, Mays Middleton doing very well in Galveston County. That's where he is a senator, but also cleaning up pretty nicely in Dallas County, nearby. Next door Tarrant County, and then of course in Denton County. We don't have any numbers for Collin County just yet, but he's doing very well in all of those places, as well as Williamson County, which is a big vote machine there for Republicans as well. Let's look at the Democrat side of things here. This is, let me get back to the totals there. On the Democrat side of things, Nathan Johnson with a sizable lead in the very early going against former Galveston Mayor Joe Jaworski there, and this is without Nathan Johnson's hometown, Dallas County, being represented here. There's nothing coming out of Dallas County yet because, again, those hours have been extended. So we'll see how that continues to shape up as we go through the rest of the evening.
Two other big races, the Ag Commissioner and then the Republican Comptroller.
And look at this one. And this is the battle of the endorsements. Let's keep that in mind here. You've got Nate Sheets, who was endorsed by Governor Abbott. You've got the incumbent Sid Miller, who was endorsed by President Trump. So we were interested to see how that head-to-head played out. Nate Sheets out to an early lead. And again, a lot of that here in North Texas. Dallas County, 63%, 57, 58% in Tarrant County, and Denton County, 66%. And that's with a pretty sizable amount of the vote already counted in those places. So that's shaping up to be an interesting one. But again, a lot of vote left to come in that. And then finally, let's close on comptroller here. Don Huffines out to a very early lead there. Former state senator from in North Texas, doing very well in the big counties in North Texas, pulling a pretty sizable amount of those early votes that are coming in. But still so much left to come from the rest of the state there. And then on the Democratic side, Sarah Eckhart jumping out to an early lead. And again, this is without her hometown, Travis County, Austin there, where she has quite a history and has served in public office for a very long time. So a lot left to go, though. We are still very much in our infancy with these numbers.
Yeah, indeed so. We're about to go to the All-Red campaign. Let's look at Congressional District 33.
Yeah,
That's
I
the
keep wanting to go to
Democratic race.
32, but yeah, that's his former district and Julie Johnson's
And
as
nothing
well.
is in here
And we
yet.
have nothing in because, again, Dallas County has extended these hours. We're not seeing any numbers coming in Dallas County on the Democratic side. Interestingly, though, Republican numbers are coming out in Dallas County.
Gotcha. Let's go to Brittany Costello now. She is with the All-Red campaign in Dallas tonight. And Brittany, it looks like it's going to be a long night for you guys and for the campaign.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we heard from former Congressman Colin Allred and Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett just about an hour ago, basically about what you guys have been covering, what they are calling voter suppression. Now, the polls are open until 9 o'clock. So the main message from them today, or an hour ago, was to please vote. Get out right now, find your assigned precinct, and make sure your vote counts. Now, they talk about voter suppression for a couple different reasons. If you are a voter in Dallas County, it's not that you are not allowed to vote, but if you are not at the right polling location, they were turned away. And so the issue is the damage of that person being turned away. We asked them, is the damage done? The polls are open a little bit longer, but is the damage done? And that was the biggest question. Was they were talking about the mom who we saw earlier today with the stroller and 3 kids. And is that person, if they are turned away, going to come back out to vote? Take a listen to Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett.
This may be a very close election, and it may hinge on who was allowed to vote or who wasn't allowed to vote in Dallas County. But I'm here to say, regardless as to whether or not it's close or not, this is wrong. If one person has the right to vote and they weren't allowed to cast their vote, we should all be standing together.
So again, they don't know what this really means for their campaigns, for their election, for these results that are coming in. They are expecting a long night. As we mentioned, polls are open until 9 o'clock. But again, the message was, do not cast your ballot. Get out, find your assigned precinct, and cast your ballot for Democrats. Back to you guys.